Yeah, it's like the beginning of church. Everyone's very quiet. Not sure if we're starting or not, but we are. So thank you all very much for being here. I'll call this meeting to order of the Oceans Subcommittee. Thank you again for the panelists to be here this morning. We anticipate one or two additional senators to be here, but I wanted to go ahead and start the meeting. And again, good morning to all of you. We're here to talk about the weather and the climate, which really is just the same as weather on a longer time scale. Today's hearing is meant to provide oversight of these two important functions of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, otherwise known as NOAA. NOAA's weather programs touch the lives of every American every day. Forecasts help people make informed decisions, whether a family planning their annual trip from their village to Anchorage or a fisherman trying to stay safe in the Gulf of Maine. And while the phrase climate change is always controversial, we in Alaska are already living the effects. Having solid information about climate trends is critical for good governance and business planning. I'm proud to serve on the Commerce Committee where, for decades, both Republicans and Democrat chairmen have promoted the highest standards of scientific integrity. I'm a big supporter of efficient and effective government, too, so as I look forward to hearing more today about efforts to better support state and local governments and business decision makers through the creation of the Climate Service within NOAA. You don't have to be a climate scientist to wonder what's going on this year. 2011 has shattered weather and climate records across the country, from record heat and cold to snow and rain, drought and flooding. Even in Alaska, where we are used to braving many extremes, last week's massive storm was a sobering reminder of the importance of being as knowing what's coming and being prepared as possible. Last week, Alaska was hit by a massive winter storm. Had it hit the lower 48, it would have stretched from Mexico to Canada. With hurricane-force winds and 10-foot tidal surges, it was truly an epic event. Fortunately, NOAA was able to give clear warnings of what was coming. Alaskans are resilient. They hunkered down, and communities implemented their emergency plans. While assessments are still underway, the damage could have been far worse if we did not have the benefit of those warnings from NOAA a few days in advance of the storm. NOAA weather satellites are key to providing these advanced warnings. I joined several members of this committee this year to fight for funding of the Joint Polar Satellite System. The satellite will provides critical data for forecasters of severe weather nationwide and to Alaska in particular, since NOAA's other satellites don't adequately cover our northern state. I'm pleased to report that the House and Senate conference report on NOAA appropriations supported funding for that expense yet critical program. I hope today's hearing will help NOAA and the committee find ways to continue to promote the highest level of innovation, even as we recognize the tough budget climate we face for the coming years. Our nation cannot afford to overlook the importance of reliable weather information. Today's hearing is meant to push deeper and promote cost-effective and early decisions regarding program management and the deployment of weather and climate services. The last administration ran a multi-billion price tag due to program delays in the management of the weather satellites, and I want to make sure this administration is better steward of the taxpayer funding. For these reasons, I'm pleased to welcome our witnesses here today, and I want to extend a very special thank you to Deputy Undersecretary Mary Glackin. Ms. Glackin, I understand you are to retire from what has been an exceptional career in public service. You have worked at NOAA for more than 3 decades, earning seemingly every professional award possible, including twice the Presidential Rank Award. I'm grateful you are here today, particularly given your own expertise and your leadership in improving weather operations by capitalizing on new technology and science. Your retirement is a real loss to NOAA and to the federal government, but I wish you every success in the fulfillment in your future endeavors, and thank you again for being here. I'm also pleased to welcome the Honorable Todd Zinser, Department of Commerce Inspector General. Mr. Zinser will testify about the challenges NOAA faces in its efforts to develop and launch the Joint Polar Satellite System, while minimizing the loss of critical weather and climate information. David Trimble, Director of the Natural Resource Environment Branch of the Government Accountability Office, will assist the committee in providing recommendations to help advance federal climate change strategic planning efforts. And I'm honored to welcome Rear Admiral Cari B. Thomas, Director of Response Policy in United States Coast Guard. With this year's extreme weather events around the country, including last week's massive Alaskan storm, I welcome your timely perspective regarding the importance of NOAA, weather, and climate information to the success of the Coast Guard search and rescue mission. Panel 2 will include Dr. Peter Niley, Vice President of Global Forecasting Services for the Weather Channel Companies, which I was happy to participate in recently about the Alaska storm. It's amazing they let a senator on the Weather Channel, but we thank you for that. Dr. Niley will speak to the relationship between the private sector and NOAA in the development of weather and climate information and outline priorities for NOAA services. And I know you're a big fan of the new Coast Guard and the reality show also, Dr. Niley. Tom Eisman of the Western Governors Association will offer perspective on the significant impacts that serve weather events and long-term climate trends can have on life in the West. He will also speak to the partnership that I believe shows significant promise, the governor's close coordination with NOAA on the delivery and sharing objective, credible weather and climate information services. Thank you all for willing to be witnesses. I will ask Senator Snow to say a couple words, but give her a second here. I will also say, with the Coast Guard's new reality show, I will say that Alaska now has the most reality shows of any state anywhere. And we love it because it shows more about Alaska, but it also shows, if you notice, almost every one of those shows has a significant weather component. I don't care if you're flying or out there catching crab or in the Coast Guard, whatever it might be, it is weather that dictates a lot of our activity in Alaska, and literally our weather systems are vast and wide when you think about where we are and how large we are. So again, thanks to this panel and the panel that will be coming up next.